الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
قل أعوذ برب الناس.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So today we are back to exposing another non-Muslim who thinks he knows Islam and knows the Hadith, while in reality he does not. Under this video, response to Yasser Qadi that I made, you can find a guy here. He's called Paul Little Hales, who defends Christianity and Christian Prince and claims to be an atheist. He says, I'm confused. When did you expose anyone in this video? Now, clearly, this guy is a joke. So I told him, you probably don't know what Mu'allal Hadith is. And I told him, asking a question, what's the difference between Ahad Hadith and Mutawatir? This question he did not answer it. Okay? Now, he didn't answer any of my questions. So then he comes and says, what is Mu'allal? It's Mu'allaq, you idiot. And it means hanging or suspended. Learn how to spell before asking questions, you fool. Now, what's really funny is that this comment was 2 days ago. This one was 16 hours ago. It took him 2 days to go and search, and still he does not know what Mu'allal is. So he found something called Mu'allaq, because of course if you search it on the internet, Mu'allal in English, it won't happen. If you search in Arabic, it will come, right? But Mu'allal, Google gets confused, right? And so this guy gets confused. So I asked him, yeah, you claim to know Islam, you claim I know nothing, right? طيب. I reply, lol. See, this is what happens when you go and search it up and you can't find it. Mu'allal means a defective hadith. When someone says فيك علة, meaning there's a defect in you, right? Mu'allal means there's a defect in hadith. I gave him here IslamicAwareness.com hadith, right? I gave him to learn about hadith and to show him that I'm not lying. I gave him copy and paste. According to a hidden defect found in the isnad or text of a hadith, although this could be included in some of the previous categories, a hadith mu'allal, meaning defective hadith, is worthy to be explained separately. The defect can be caused in many ways. Example, two types of hadith mu'allal are known as maqloob, overturned, and muttarib, shaky. And I said, you got yourself in trouble and it's going viral. See, this is what happens when you speak without knowledge. This guy tried to act smart with me. I tried to say, oh, you don't know, he brought up Mu'allaq. But I got him clear. And if you did not see this link, I'll press on it. I'll press on that link. This link is very good for starters who want to learn about the hadiths. So give it a second. This is, of course, Islamic awareness for those starters who, I think for those who don't know Arabic, right? And want the introduction of Mustalah al-Hadith, classification of Hadith. This is the website, Islamic Awareness. If you scroll down, this is what I copied for him. According to a hidden defect found in the isnad or text of a hadith, although this could be included in some of the previous categories, a hadith mu'allal, defective hadith, is worthy to be explained separately. The defect can be caused in many ways. Example, two types of hadith mu'allal are known as maqloob, overturned, and muttarib, shaky. What's funny, this guy didn't know what mu'allal is. This guy went for 2 days trying to search. He didn't reply for 2 days. He was searching. Oh, this guy is lying. There's no such thing as mu'allal, right? Which is very funny. I got him this and he's exposed. Khalas, he's done. So let's get rid of this right now. Let me go. Oh yeah, there's something else. This guy came and he was claiming that Sahih Isnad can mean that the whole hadith in general per se is, or the hadith in general is Sahih. Now, in order to know a full hadith that is Sahih, okay, the Isnad must be Sahih. This is what I said, right? And I've studied what the Isnad is. And when it says Isnadun Sahih, Isnad is Sahih, meaning the hadith is Sahih. But sometimes the hadith can not be sahih, can be weak, but the isnad can be sahih due to a person making mistakes, Okay, he's trustworthy narrator, right? There's nothing wrong with him, but there is some mistakes in the hadith that he has made. So as I said before, a sahih is hadith, meaning its isnad is sahih and its wording is sahih as well. Okay, and I said exactly, there's sometimes when they write isnad sahih, means the hadith, all of it is sahih. But also sometimes when they write isnad sahih, meaning that the isnad, the chain is sahih, but the full hadith is not sahih. And this guy doesn't know that. Watch what he says. Look what he says. So here's what he says. This is his replies here. He said, your boyfriend is saying that every hadith that is sahih in chain is unreliable. Do you think that? He never said every hadith that is sahih in chain is unreliable. There are, as I said before, there's a difference. Every hadith that is sahih in chain, okay, is sahih, and the wording is sahih, then it's all sahih. But sometimes they may say that if it's sahih in chain, meaning it's not sahih, there can be a error in the hadith itself. So it does not make the whole hadith sahih. And this is what I will expose you. I will expose it. Okay. So let us go and show him, because I want to show him proof, right? I want to show him proof from a scholarly Salafi website, Islam Q&A, General Supervisor Sheikh Mohammed Salih Al-Munajjid. Okay, he's famous. Let's see what he says. The difference between they're saying a sahih hadith and they're saying its isnad is sahih. What is the difference? Let us see. They say the muhaddithun state that the sahih hadith which is most likely attributed to the Prophet Muhammad is the hadith which fulfills all of the following conditions. Each of its narrators are of good character. Each of its narrators has a precise memory. The isnad is uninterrupted from beginning to end. The hadith is sound and free from any shudud, irregularity in its isnad or matan text. The hadith is sound and free of any illah, fault in its isnad or text. He said the fourth and fifth conditions are among the most precise of conditions and the most difficult for the critic, because proving them required intense research and precision. This guy, this idiot, he comes and says, oh, it's sahih hadith, this is not it's not sahih, so the hadith is sahih. Well, this guy has no knowledge at all. Yani Habibi, first of all, before I advise you, okay, Paul Little Hills, go to the mustashfa, go to the hospital, let them yu'aljuk, let them, basically heal you, and then come back and learn Islam, okay? Because you're basically stepping into the fire. You basically have you're not geared up, you have no knowledge, you have no strength. You're coming into the you're coming to the lion's cage and trying to fight off a lion. You know what happens when you fight off a lion when you can't really fight him? If you're trying to wrestle a lion while you can't fight him or you can't defend yourself against him, you're basically majnoon. You have a problem. You have mental health issues, right? So first of all, go and seek therapy or something. Get yourself healed in the hospital. Then come back and debate me. Okay? And then come back and basically get knowledge of Islam and debate me. Okay. Now, like I said before, Al-Hafiz Ibn Salah said, when they say the hadith has a sahih isnad or a hasan isnad instead of this is a sahih hadith or a hasan hadith, that is because it may be said that this hadith has a sahih isnad, but it is not sahih per se because it is shadh, odd, or mu'allal, faulty. Like I said before, mu'allal. You see it here? You see it here, Habib? He's saying that there's no such thing as mu'allal, only mu'allaq. And this is the reference here. Okay? Ibn Kathir says, the fact that the isnad is deemed to be sahih or hasan does not, it means that the fact that the transmission or isnad is deemed to be sahih or hasan does not necessarily mean that the same applies to the text, because it may be shadh, odd, or mu'allal, faulty. Again, Al-Iraqi said in his Alfiyah, the ruling that the isnad is sahih or hasan does not necessarily apply to the text. Okay? Nevertheless, there may be an exception that this differentiation, if it is known that a particular imam does not make this distinction between the two terms, a sahih isnad and a sahih hadith, in his terminology. An Imam, especially if he is one of the earlier scholars, may say a Sahih Isnad when he means that the Hadith itself is Sahih and that it meets all 5 conditions. So sometimes, like I said before, sometimes a person will come narrate a Sahih Hadith with a Sahih Isnad and doesn't say that the Hadith is Sahih, but says it has Sahih Isnad, meaning that the Sahih, all of it, meaning that the Hadith, all of it is Sahih. Okay, but sometimes they may narrate, basically they say that the Isnad is Sahih, but the wording and the text, or there's odd Hadith, is not considered Sahih. Okay. Al-Hafiz bin Hajar said, but a reliable scholar may say in his book it has a Sahih Isnad and not mention any illah fault or criticize it, so it may be understood that he deems it to be Sahih in and of itself, because the absence of any illah fault or qadiyah flaw is the basic principle, and Allah knows best. Okay?
If a hadith is sahih in chain, is it necessary for its content to be sahih too? That one is going to be. How are you up for a while? I think this one's going to take a while to answer.
The person's image is hilarious.
It's nice
So the short answer for this is that this is a wrong question. In terms of the way that the scholars of hadith actually operate, is that a hadith is not authentic until it's authentic. Because a hadith is referring to the whole thing, the sanad and the matan. Now, if your question is it possible for there to be a chain that has reliable transmitters in it and is connected, and yet still the content be incorrect? And yes, that is correct. This can happen, and it's because someone has not, even though they're reliable, they've not properly retained the information, and hence they make a mistake in it. And the whole science of ilal is based on this concept. And the best, easiest book for al-ilal to begin with is by our own, one of the greatest muhaddithun, Imam Muslim in Kitab al-Tamyiz. His whole book is based on this, right? You have reliable transmitters transmitting something, but this particular issue, and they may have not properly retained it, so they made a mistake in it. So yeah, I think that roughly covers the
system. So basically, the system is there to solve those issues as well. System can filter out mistakes of reliable narrators.
Yeah, because everyone makes mistakes. This is what Imam Muslim says. He said, ليس من شرط ناقل الخبر أن لا يخطئ. Right?
Now, it's very important to keep in mind that just because the hadith is authentic, excuse me, it's important to keep in mind that you can't just go around rejecting everything you don't like, because there's a possibility that there may be an issue. You can't, that's something that you cannot do.
This is what Imam Muslim says. He says, فليس من ناقل خبر وحامل أثر من السلف الماضين إلى زماننا وإن كان من أحفظ الناس وأشدهم توقيا وإتقانا لما يحفظ وينقل إلا والغلط والسهو ممكن في حفظه ونقله. He said that there is not a single person, except even if they're the most reliable person, except that it is possible for them to make a mistake. And that's the idea of it. And which is why you have ilm al-ilal. Which is why you don't simply look at a chain and see reliable, it's authentic. No, you have to study it. Yeah. Which is why you have books like Al-Bukhari and Muslim and whatnot. Yeah, Kitab al-Tamyiz, that's the name of the book, Kitab al-Tamyiz. This is the publication of Abdul Qadir al-Muhammadi. It's a decent publication.